Using MS Excel to plan each coordinate, I have created the first fully planned city of mankind, set in prehistory. I will be playing Dawn of Man at the hardest difficulty to build this great city simply known as the Ozymandian Kingdom. Given the ravages of time, even the greatest men and the empires they forge are impermanent, their legacies fated to decay into oblivion. This city, while it lasts, shall, however, be so great that gods invented 1,000 years from its passing shall come with bowed heads to ask our ancestors, who built this edifice? Welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, lovers of war, traders of great renown, I, the strategic Indian, bid you welcome to my channel, where our motto is think, practice thinking. If you like the content, please do not forget to like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment, which will greatly help with the almighty YouTube algorithm. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my gameplay series on Dawn of Man, where we're building the first prehistoric planned city, the Ozymandian Kingdom. Intro was the first 40 seconds. And I hope you're enjoying the series, and up to now we have progressed up to the Bronze Age, and this is the first raid of the Bronze Age coming in. So this is, as I said, the most dangerous time for your colony. I have outlined why exactly I think so in my previous episodes, so feel free to give those a check. That would be very much appreciated. Here comes the raid. These raiders have got leather armor, which we don't even have access to, and shields, which we don't have access to again. So, a very dangerous time. Our dogs went in because our doors were closed, so they had no way to enter our fully walled colony. So, right now, they're trying to flank us, but they have to come across a river, so that's very difficult for them. They're trying to break down the doors, and we have a lot of braves behind that door. So even if that door is broken down, there is another door, so it's double walled, double door. And after that, we have a bunch of braves. So yeah, they didn't even manage to break down one wall. Clear cause of celebration on our end. So look at our boys and girls celebrating, and we carry the first raid. And this is the spring session, so we still have a little bit of planting left, but we are getting most of the planting done. We are probably going to lose this tower because I don't have enough straw to repair. I do have enough wood and leather to repair the tower, but I don't have straw, so I don't think this tower is going to survive. But it's okay. We have enough towers, enough platforms. The issue is that the way the defenses are set up, I would be able to take any raid even if 1 or 2 towers are down until the Iron Age. Then, of course, a lot more reinforcements will have to be done. That's for another day. Further down the line, we don't need to worry about that. So let's just recap over what we have done. We have completely encased the Ozymandian Kingdom. So there are no open points of entry except our double gates, which we can lock at a moment's notice. Of course, we can do that. The only issue is that if the raiders spawn very near to our boys while they are, say, cutting down trees, or they are chopping wood far out in the distance, then of course if the raiders spawn right next to them, we might have issues of getting everybody in. Or say we are farming on one end of the Ozymandian Kingdom and the raid comes at the absolute opposite end. So then it takes us a little bit of time to shimmy our way up to the defenses, get it working, get enough people on that sector. But yeah, even if we have a few losses, we have enough people. We are close to 200, so that is exactly the goal I had in mind. You want to hit the copper age when you are at 120 to 150 people. You want to hit the bronze age when you are at 200 people. You want to hit the iron age when you are 225 to 250. Because the iron age, as you can see, is the last age. We are now about to hit the bronze age. There we go. We have unlocked the bronze age, and something fantastical is going to happen very soon. I will walk you over it. So the last stage is, of course, iron age, and then you want to have 250 people, because 300 people is the max that the game gives you in the vanilla version which we are playing, which is the hardest. The mods allow you to go higher, but I find the mods easier. Some mods are quite difficult. Some mods, let me not overspeak. Some mods are quite difficult even for my level, but some mods are easier. So let's just say, let's put the vanilla as the cross section of what most people are playing, and then that is pretty tough. So 300 people are where the game equilibrates. So what does equilibration mean? Equilibration means that the number of people dying off from old age is exactly equal to the number of migrants that you're going to get. That is not the case in any other age prior to the Iron Age. So once you hit the Iron Age, you equilibrate. That's it. You can't go forward. We are now going to choose our Bronze Age tech. We are going to go for sword making first of all, and then composite archery, finally reinforced fortifications, which will be unlocked as soon as we hit the Iron Age. So you want to make sure that these two are open so that we can go to reinforced fortifications. And you want to grab the horse technology and the plowing technology, because we want to supercharge our farming, and the way we are going to do that is by making plows. Since we just had the copper age where we began to capture cows which can pull sleds and horses which we just unlocked, we don't have enough animals to pull enough sleds. So don't overbuild sleds at this age. Plows. I keep saying sleds. Plows are what you use in the Iron Age, and then you want to maintain a very large number of farms. You want to maintain a very large amount of animals which are going to use those plows to good effect. Now, we in the previous episodes were enjoying a great amount of food surplus. So we were at 5 to 1 food at one point, then we came down to 3 to 1 food, and now you can see we are at 200-ish food for a population of 200. So we have now come to a 1-to-1 food ratio, which is less than ideal, because every citizen of this great city are going to consume 3 units of food. So we don't have the 3-to-1 ratio. So that is what we are going to build up towards. So now in the nook and crannies, I am now going to start throwing my fruit trees, because fruit trees are the secret weapon of the game. They are planted once, and then you don't have any maintenance. They can be picked up and harvested by kids, which is fantastic. So for example, we had planted these nice fruit trees 2 seasons back, so they take 2 seasons to ripen. This is the second season, and in goes our toons to collect this nice amount of food. So we have this little girl called Vairi. She is going out to collect some nice fruits. So let's just enjoy her journey towards the fruit trees. She's picking up some nice succulent pears. She can consume it right away if her hunger and thirst meter is down, or she can bring it back to storage. So she chooses to bring it back to storage. and you can see how near the storage is. So this is in form of a hut that we have over here, and she is now sitting inside the hut having that nice succulent pear that she picked. So all power to her. Long live Vairi. So let's follow the boy called Zamob. So Zamob is now going out with a little cap. He's got a cute little cap, a woolen cap. All of our citizens are fully clothed for both winter and summer. So that is why our great weavers district has been churning for the copper age, and we have built up a huge surplus of clothes. Around 30 or 40 clothes more. So here Zamob was hungry. Zamob was hungry, and therefore he chooses to sit down and have the meal right away. That is why fruits are your secret weapon. If you are really in a crunch, you somehow want to survive to the summer month when you can harvest fruits. And then you want to have this huge amount of empty space made for fruit trees and planted with fruit trees galore, end to end. And then what you would have is, as soon as you hit summer, you would be able to go and collect all of these fruits very quickly and efficiently, because even children are picking up the fruits, and then all your food problems are solved. You can clearly see on the screen, it showed for a sweet hot second. There it is again. We collected 80 fruits for 200 people, so that's close to 40% of our population. So 40% of our food got solved, which is fantastic. We have pushed up our food security a little bit. We are now going constantly into our tasks panel. So in the previous episode, I talked about how exactly workloads work in this game. So that was a very advanced masterclass on workloads. I would strongly encourage you to have a look at that, because that will explain to you how exactly you want to manage the workload and make sure that you efficiently bring in all of your tasks. So you control all of the tasks. There are all the useless tasks are removed, which I will also continue to do in this episode. We are at 100-ish percent. So here I have to count how many adult cows I have and how many adult donkeys I have. And that's pretty stupid. The game doesn't tell me. It tells me how many adult males and how many adult females it has. Of course, that information is nice to have, but what I would want is exactly how many adults I have, because those are the number of plows and carts I would make, so that I can make sure that there is no wastage. If I have more carts than animals, then those carts are not going to be used and they will lose durability. And if I have more animals, then they are not going to work and they are simply going to eat straw in the winter months, which is a waste of resources. If those animals are hitched onto carts or plows, then one, they don't need shelter in the stables. So that is great. That space can be used by another animal. And two, they don't consume, neither do they produce any resources. So an adult cow won't be producing milk if she is hitched to a plow in the game. However, you can slaughter it if it goes to old age, and then you would get meat and bones and skins off of it, but no milk. So we don't have... So this is our first plow, so let's go in. In this episode, I'll be going in and zooming in and slowing the game down and then just enjoy it. We have worked very hard. The whole colony has worked really, really hard up to now. We have closed entirely the walls of the Ozymandian Kingdom. All the defenses are in place. We have a large amount of area cleared by clear cutting trees. We have built up our fruit tree space. So here I am going in, and now I am unselecting all the copper tools that I have given an order for. The reason is I want actually to go to the bronze tools. They are better in resource collection by 1 star. So if the harvesting power of a flint tool and a copper tool are the same. What they differ in is durability. So they don't break while you are working with those tools. So a copper tool is definitely better than a flint tool, but you don't collect resources faster using either. You gather resources faster, therefore more resources in a given unit of time if you go to a bronze tool. And of course, if your tool doesn't break because the durability is longer, you don't have to go back and forth and exchange your broken tool for a new tool, which could be anywhere. So that could be in a hut all the way at the end of the Ozymandian Kingdom, and then he has to walk all the way over there and then come back and repeat whatever menial task he was carrying on. So that's exactly what you don't want to do. You want to move towards the copper, copper tools if you're in the flint age, and you want to move towards the bronze if you're in the bronze age. So therefore, let's remove all of these copper tools being built. Let's buy up all the animals. Let's adjust our task limits as I'm doing so that I can really focus in. I don't need that much charcoal, so I'm going to reduce that by 1 to 50. I'm going to reduce the amount of bronze I make. I'll increase the number of knives because the game really has no chill. It really constantly tells you if you are low on knives, which is pretty annoying, but yeah, we'll have to live with that. And of course, never overbuild carts at this early stage, and you don't want to overbuild plows at this early stage because you don't have the animals to do the actual pulling of carts and sleds. Now our summer is half over and the fruit collection is already done, so that is very efficient and very quickly done. Everybody goes as soon as it is winter, men, women, children. Fruit collection happens very quickly, therefore fruits are the secret weapon in this game. We are going to continue to chop down trees because 45 logs are not a number you want to be happy with. You want to be happy with at least 100 sticks and 100 wood. That is your bare minimum at all points of time at this age. So constantly give orders of cutting down trees, and that is the task which is going to throw all of your production out of whack, because you want to make say a bow, you can't because one stick is missing. And how are they going to go and get the stick? They prefer to get the stick from a stick collection rather than go and cut down a tree, which is more or less the same amount of walk given the amount of walking, etc. But once you cut down a tree, you get more sticks, but they don't do that. They would rather send a little kid all the way across the map to go and collect one stick where he's going to get jumped by cave hyenas, because cave hyenas. So our metallurgy is going to begin to kick in. We have already 9 bronze. We have somebody, a nice lady over here using the furnace. She is going in to make the bronze, so let's enjoy this beautiful vision. This game is very beautiful. You can see the beautiful sky and the clouds floating, and our bronze metallurgy is going to pick up slowly as the tin ore comes in. I did not give orders for tin mines to be built, but I put down some tin ore collection areas because wood was scarce at this point, and if you don't have the wood, what you want to do is put down this collection area for ores, whereby 15 units of ore per mine is going to be collected by hand from the surface. So you don't need anything other than picks. You don't want the mine constructed, and that you do on the early stage when you just hit a new age. You don't have enough logs. You are never going to have enough logs, the most precious and most wanted resource in Dawn of Man. Always check your metalsmiths. Make sure that the obsolescent items are unchecked. Same goes for the workshop, that you make sure that you're not producing the older bows and you want to slowly move towards compound bows. I do have enough flax, so to make composite bows, which are really powerful things. But I don't want to do that because I have the harvest coming in, and harvesting is very important because we want to build up this surplus of food. We are slowly pushing this graph back up. You can clearly see that in the previous episode we have more or less reached the nadir point of the previous episode, but at the previous episode we did not have fruit harvesting. So we have fruit harvesting this year, and we have the full harvest coming in. Our MR goes and takes a hit, which is unfortunate because MR gives 50% more chance of grain, which is fantastic. I love MR. I just have to use barley because this is such a large map. I have so many things to build, so many buildings to maintain, so many animals to feed during the winter. I have to actually prioritize barley in this case, because barley gives me a 50% advantage or 50% chance of gaining extra straw. So 2 straw per plot instead of 1 straw, and MR is the exact opposite. It gives you 2 grains and 1 straw by default. So if you don't need as much straw, you want to grow MR, and if you need more food, you want to grow MR, and if you need more straw, then you want to grow more barley. So the game is very nicely balanced, except for the cost of these wool outfits. That is really stupid. I don't know what that intern was thinking when he or she put in the cost for wool cloths and linen clothes to be at the same cost as raw linen and raw wool. It takes out of consideration that I have to actually collect all of those resources. Then I have to convert it to a wool cloth and a linen cloth, and then I can go and make a woolen shirt out of it and a woolen shirt out of it. So this huge chain of events are completely not there in the cost of the end product, which is halved. So that makes zero sense. So thank you, Mr. or Miss Intern, who was bravely going all in, trying their best to impress their seniors. Well, in your immense wisdom, this is what you did. Congratulations, and we have to live with the choices that you made, which are not very intelligent. Harvesting is going. Always, whenever you are going into the zoom mode, make sure you keep an eye out on the periphery, that you keep an eye out that raiders are not in your vision. So we unlocked sword making. So here you can see the kingdom from a distance. You can clearly see how nicely enclosed we are, and that most of the first, second and third quadrant is complete, and in this episode we shall start building the 4th quadrant, which will be exactly as the first, second and third quadrant. I'm going to give in a little bit of order for more trees to be cut, because I perpetually need trees to be cut. And trader has come in, and I always check on traders. So we'll get the food because food security is what we're building, and try to get as much tin as you can. There isn't much tin in the map because historically that is the way it was. Tin is far more rarer than copper. Copper is much easier to get. Copper ore is much easier to get in the wild, and what you had is tin, which was imported from the absolute two ends of the most happening place of the prehistoric world. So the most happening place at that time was Sumer. You would have the entire Levant, Egypt, Anatolia, with all of these beautiful city-states and the fledgling empires which were all over there. The Egyptian Empire, you had the Assyrian Empire, you had the Sumerian Empire, you had the Greeks in Mykonos, you had the Hittites in Anatolia. And this place, as you can see in the map of the world, is in the center of the world. And tin used to come, and copper used to be abundant in this place, as it is everywhere. But tin had to come from these solitary mines all the way in Afghanistan and all the way in the Britannic Islands. So people used to go back and forth from modern day France to Britain. That was not judged as a very difficult journey. So Druids who would be studying in the Druidic colleges, which would take 21 years of study, which is an immense amount of work and study that would go in. They would actually go back and forth between northern France and southern England. Crossing that English Channel was really not a great task, as it was made out to be 1,000 years later by Julius Caesar, because he was a tremendous self-aggrandizer. I crossed the English Channel. World War II, crossing the English Channel for the German army, the great vaunted land army, this great German army, they would just get scared of this little thin English Channel, because the English Navy would come out there and swallow this invasion army, which would be trying to cross desperately on their little skiffs and boats. They're flat-bottom vessels, because the German Navy was a big joke of World War II. They would swallow it whole. They would just go and swallow it whole if they tried to mount an invasion of England. I'm no fan of England. Trust me, I'm Indian. Couldn't care less. But in later stages, this English Channel was nothing to be crossed. But it was 1,000 years later, and again 1,000 years later in World War II. But as soon as tin supplies broke down, the entire civilized world collapsed. We forgot how to write. We gave up on writing. Imagine that. One of the oldest and continuously used inventions of the human mind and humankind was given up. We forgot how to write. It's incredible that something so useful would be completely forgotten, because all of these empires, they just collapsed. They couldn't stay up without bronze. And you might say that, hey, if you can't use bronze, why don't you go back to using copper? It's not that bad, is it? Yeah, well, there is 1,000 years between copper and the Bronze Age. It would be like telling you that, hey, semiconductors, because China invaded Taiwan, now all our semiconductors are gone. Why don't you go back to using this wax tablet instead of this nice iPhone and this nice Android that you have? Yeah, go figure. Those two things are also 1,000 years apart. Good luck. Our society would collapse if our supply lines break. And that's what happened in the Bronze Age collapse. But with the coming of the Bronze Age, something spectacular is actually going to happen. What you see on the screen right now in red, because I've gone to primal vision, because these trees, I can't see anything through it, so you have to learn to use the primal vision 24/7 while playing this game, are cave hyenas, the worst and most atrocious animal in the history of this game. And here they go. They went and attacked some goats in the far end. They attacked some aurochs, and the aurochs gave it to them. But as soon as you hit the Bronze Age, and when the first winter comes in, so the winter of you clicking the Bronze Age, so if you click it, click the Advanced to Bronze Age in the winter itself, then they immediately disappear. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Cave hyenas have got extinct. They were there on your screen and now they are there no more. Cave hyenas are gone from this game. So are cave lions and cave bears. I didn't care much for cave bears. Cave lions, of course, big headache. The only problem that you have now are going to be wolves, who are not that dangerous per se. Our people will soon have very competent bows and armor and also steel weapons to take care of themselves. They will be still a big nuisance. They will chase our children, especially when we are at a very high workloads. They will be causing us quite a lot of grief. So wolves will be a perpetual problem. We are going to now go out and collect all of these aurochs because I need to build up this auroch population as soon as possible, so that I can go and continue to build up my animal reserves. Of course, I will have to also make sure that I have enough stable space, because else those poor animals won't be able to be supported, and then if a blizzard hits and they are out in the open without any shelter, then they can't drink. Because in the winter they can only drink from the stables, and then those poor animals die out, and that causes me a lot of sorrow. I am, of course, a city boy. I don't understand the attachment towards farm animals. I understand it as a human being, but I haven't experienced it myself. But I can imagine from my readings that is extremely painful. For example, when in the book called Bloodlands, between Hitler and Stalin, amazing book, really highly recommended. So when the Soviet Union was doing its collectivization, so the Ukrainian peasants, they had to hide. They wanted to hide their grain. They wanted to hide their cattle from all of these cruel Soviet Union officials who would just come and collectivize all of their farms, farm animals and grain, not even sparing them seed grain, and collecting all of these animals. And it really struck me when they said that this poor girl, she followed her cow while this Soviet commissar was collecting this poor animal and leading it away, and this poor girl chasing this cow all the way till she could, and she's crying and following her poor cow being taken away forcefully from her. And yeah, that's all she could with her little feet. She could just follow as much as she can, and then she got tired, sat down and cried till the cow just went across the horizon, never to be seen again. So yes, I do understand this connection between animals and human beings. So let's go and increase that connection. Let's go and capture more and more farm animals. Our workload is down, so this is a good time for us to collect as many animals as we can, collect as much meat as we can, and we have to make sure that we have enough sleds to be able to support all of this, because we don't want to have them walk around on bare feet and bring these things back on their back, which lowers morale. Since I have enough sticks and I am going to collect quite a lot of animal bounty, because I did a lot of hunting, I am going to now finally complete the first man sculptor, which we can now support, because we have a lot of animals which are going to be constantly culled and used. And there we go. Our first man agriculture is there, and now it is complete. So this is as per the city plan. We wanted to put in this beautiful first man architecture to ensure that we have and a symbol which connects us to the very first man from whom we all descended from. Of course, I don't believe in creationism. It's just a little bit of theory crafting. I would say that it's easier to theory craft that everything came from one thing rather than several things. So it's better to have a single man of the universe from whom we all came, and that's all most religious thought also goes and goes from that whether it is the Sumerians, whether it is the Assyrians, the Egyptians, the Christians, Judaism, all of that always comes from this central tenet. So if I am mistaken in that, feel free to comment. I'm not an expert by any means, and yes. So we are now going to push our third quadrant. We are going to make one mistake, that I put in these two barns over here, but I don't want barns over here. So now I realize, moment of realization, I want to put the subsequent two barns. So it's those two barns and these two barns where we're going to remove. And in place of that, the trick that we had, that we are going to put in a weaver so that it is right next to the outfitter. We are not going to build additional cheesemakers because we don't have enough milk producing animals. The number of goats we have is not enough. The number of cows have not yet begun to kick in, so that we don't need those stables, those cheesemakers, excuse me. Because if we have additional cheesemakers, then if there is one milk produced and there are 5 cheesemakers, all of them are going to want to make the cheese. But you have 1 liter of milk and that goes to one of those cheesemakers, job gets done. But those other 4 have now gotten logged into your system. If you press the tasks panel, that hey, I want to dry up 1 liter of milk, but there is no milk to be had. So those tasks are going to remain outlying, clogging up your workforce while you can not do anything productive. So make sure you build up as and when you need those items. Having said that, of course, you can clearly see that I have built 1 too many cheese makers, and I will go and probably delete a few. We got all of the harvest in, so that's the fruit harvest plus the normal harvest, grain harvest, and now you can see that we have reached a little higher point than the nadir that we reached in the previous season, where we couldn't go and do the fruit farming. Now in quadrants 3 and 4, we are not going to build 2 stables, because then the cairn that I want to put on this side is not going to be able to be placed. So everything actually fits. So make sure you don't put 2 stables on this end, which we did in the first and the second quadrant, as you can see very far away. However, over here there will be only 1 stable, followed by 2 burial mounds each. So all our burial mounds are also now going to be within the reach of the city, so that we don't have to go out and do the prayers. Although we won't have enough burial points inside the city until very late, so you don't need to worry about that. But whatever ancestor worship that you can do within the gates of the Ozymandian Kingdom is better, because you want to not venture out except to cut down trees. There we go, trees, and you venture out to, of course, planting and harvesting fruits. I don't count as going out very much, because that's not very far away. And the only other reason you would go out for is for picking up all the ore and tannin. We are going to reduce the amount of tannin we collect. I don't want to have a gigantic amount of tannin and a gigantic amount of leather. So it is the ore collection why we have to leave the city. But we are going to collect the nearest ores first and then work our way outwards, which will be quite late when we would need to go further and further out, we don't need to worry about it. Our first man architecture is almost complete. I think it is complete. And now we have the planting season, and this planting season we have got a lot of work because we have to build up these houses, because I was caught a little bit asleep that our population caught up to the number of houses because our population jumped quite a lot. I didn't prepare well. So yeah, with a lot of things, it is possible to get blindsided, and that is what this game actually gives you. You can easily go into the spiral that you did not prepare for, and of course, that's no good. We are restricted in terms of building. We did put a gigantic number of orders in, but we are restricted in terms of straw. So that clearly tells me that the amount of farming which we are doing is not sufficient. We have to scale our farming up next. Because no matter how many trees you plant and how food secure you are on the basis of fruit trees, because fruit trees, yeah, you can have quite a lot of them, and you can put all of the fruit in straddle granaries, which protects them for 1.5 years, which is, yeah, and the harvest is every year, so yeah, you would perpetually have enough fruit to stay alive, but you really need the straw, so you actually need to also go and farm. So we would have to create some space for additional farming while we increase our fruit trees also. So what we want to do is have the fruit trees near, and so also we want and therefore also we want the farming to be near, so those two actions are going to conflict, and that is the balance that you're looking for. If you see more uneven ground, that's where you want to go for fruit, because fruit trees can grow within uneven ground, given of course some restrictions, but you want to put down clear large fields of 5 by 5 crops. The reason for that is, suppose now we have gone into the Bronze Age, therefore we have plows. Once they start plowing, they can plow 5 of those units which need to be planted in one go. That is better than trying to put in a patchwork of fields where there are 2 or 3 fields in a row, or worst case there is just one seed bed right there, and therefore what you would do is constantly switch. So your plow would probably go back to rest. Your man or woman who is plowing, children can also plow, they would actually go back to rest, and therefore you want to clearly put down 5 at a time, and that's how you want to do. So this particular season was a bit rough. We had to do all the plowing, which we got most of it done, and we collected a little bit of straw from the trader, and therefore we are going to put down these housing with top priority, because I want to ensure I get more migrants. I believe I got 1 migrant because I don't have enough population space to attract more migrants. So we got most of the harvesting done, and we have now the fruit trees which we planted on the far side of the river are also matured up. So we are going to collect far more fruit in this season, in this summer, than we did last time. Last time we collected 80, and let's see how much we can collect. We have already collected 50, and it's counting. So my calculation probably is we'll collect 120 to 130 fruit this summer. So we are going to buy the brewery tech because I want to save up my points for the coming age. That is, of course, the last age, but we will need to build up things very, very quickly. So Bronze Age, you want to buy up techs. Copper Age, you want to save up techs. Copper Age, there aren't that many things to spend your technology points on. Therefore, you would prefer to buy all of them. That's what we actually did by getting rid of all of these flint weapons, this dry skin and bones, which are high value still in the Copper Age. And we went and bought up all of these texts of the Copper Age. And similarly, we are going to buy up all of the texts, trader permitting, in the coming episodes with the just buying it up front and not worrying about costs that much. The future is going to be paying. Always check for small stones and pitches, sorry, not pitch, so what is that thing called? Obsidian patches that you have on the ground, because they stop you from planting trees. So collect those, get those out of the way, plant more fruit trees. More fruit trees, the more power you have. If I could, I would cover the entire map with fruit trees. If I had the trader come in with enough straw to tide over the building maintenance, then I would neither keep animals nor would I farm, because then the number of fruit trees that I would plant would be absolutely obscene. Maybe 1,000, I don't know, for a population of 300. Even if 50% of it rots, I would still have 200 surplus, which is going to carry over to the next year, and then I would collect 1,000 more, and 50% of that rots, I would still have 200. And let's assume 50% of the previous year's rots, so I would have 100 left over. So every year I would be climbing by his steady 300 in the first cycle, and so on and so forth. Fruit trees for the win. Let's just take that as the take-home message. Fruit trees are really the game winner of this game. I'm now going through my task areas. I am eliminating inefficient areas, so stick areas where there aren't enough sticks. I'm moving around the stick areas so that I go and get sticks from the most bunched up place. However, I do want them to actually chop down trees, which would allow for faster and more efficient stick collection rather than manual stick collection. Yes, but you want to do both. So here I take a little bit of a chance. There was an auroch which was crossing the water, so I was like, yeah, well, I can keep on taking some free shots, but yeah, it didn't work. So he comes and then he just gives me a whack. There we go. Whoever this guy was, I didn't catch his name, just got flung into the water and he's trying to swim away because, yeah, the auroch just hit him straight in the face. Somebody is going after that auroch valiantly with a copper axe, but I think it's better to send out a raiding party to eliminate this one auroch. The reason for that is if this one auroch goes away, I would get an entire herd of auroch spawn somewhere in the map, because the amount of herds is more or less constant. It is it's at equilibrium. The more you kill, the more the AI creates for you. And you want these very, very vital animals to reappear in your vicinity, because the more of these hordes there are, the more probability there are of them spawning nearer to you. So beautiful, look at that beautiful first man architecture that we have built. We can go in and zoom in. It's a little bit of a flat perspective, so once we zoom in, it's not that nice, but I like to look at it. I like to look at it, especially with those beautiful meat pieces drying. That's good. All the salmonella that you're going to have from all the big ass tapeworms that you're going to get. Well, congratulations. Who is that guy? Liver King or some guy eating raw meat? Our human society became what we are, apex predators, because we learned to cook and eat our meat. It's absolutely retarded to go for eating raw meat. I can't understand it. The reason our brains grew so large compared to our bodies is because cooking and eating meat gives us a far greater amount of energy transfer, and therefore a far higher and cheaper build up of energy, which allowed us to build these huge cranial lobes, which allowed us to become this apex predator. Here I am playing this prehistoric game, talking to you guys. We are near 100 subs. That's fantastic. I want to talk about that separately once we get there. I'm not there yet, but we're getting there. But 100 subs, that's just fantastic. For a person who's playing two games, one of which is 8 years old at this point, other which is 5-year-old game, very niche games, 100 subs, that's just fantastic. I'm really humbled to get over here. And let's hope we can grow, and that there is appreciation for expert level play. I don't want to play games where I'm not the expert, because I do think it is cheating that if you're watching somebody to learn and they are not telling you the most advanced level. It's of course fun to explore, but I would like to explore it myself, find out the collected human knowledge on that particular game. So from Reddit, from the internet, from the forums, so collect all of the beauty of human wisdom which you get on the internet. You also get nonsense on the internet. I go in there, I filter all of that, all for you guys, and then we enjoy the fruits of this collected wisdom. And therefore I want to actually go and play games which I am very good at, where I can transfer this knowledge. Another game where I'm very good at, very popular at its time, also from 2015, is Banished. Fantastic game. So all these games, city builder games, they are all coming from Banished. And that was just a one-man show. One person coded. His first name is Luke. His second name is impossible to pronounce, so I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to put in some order for some copper tools, because I still have a lot of copper, and I don't want to sell it. I go in and check which copper tools give me knowledge points. So I see most of them have crossed the threshold of 10, except the copper spear for some reason, copper X for some reason. So as soon as I make 10, so 2 more X's, I would get a knowledge point. So then you want to go and collect and hoard up all of these knowledge points so that you can use them in the next stage. Therefore, I quickly get rid of this copper that I have built up. I don't think they are going to make more copper, because I've set it to 0, and they're pretty stupid. They might, because else you would have to go in and deselect the auto build of copper. But trust me, I don't have enough patience. There are 6 metalsmiths right now. Each one of them have got 5, so 30 right clicks is not something that I have patience for. And what I'm going to do is put in a lot of extra fruit trees, because we now have our harvesting is done. We have nothing to harvest, and our harvesting season is still not over. So we are doing fantastic in terms of workload management. And now I'm going to just go in and put in all the trees that I can. I try to make a little bit of a row, because this is of course YouTube. I feel a lot of love for you guys when I do this. I really enjoy doing this, because I can imagine that for some people this is very beautiful, that they would like these trees to be in a straight line, and that also gives a very good effect. Very nice thing to look at. But of course the min-maxer in me wins out at times, and this min-maxer, he just is after those precious pixels. He wants to see those numbers climb, he wants to see that graph climb. That gives me a lot of pleasure. And then that min-maxer in me won out, and I planted some monoculture some fruit trees. Fruit trees don't get any diseases, so you don't need to worry about disease, so you can plant the same one and you wouldn't have any trouble of diseases wiping out the entire series of harvest in the summer. We are going to close the episode, so it's a little bit longer because there wasn't that much action. We had one raid, we went to the Bronze Age, we saw the Key of Hyenas disappear, fantastic news all around. We built up our fourth quadrant, which we are going to build up our fourth quadrant to put the footsteps of those buildings down, and now we have enough straw, so that is going to happen in this upcoming episode. So there you will be able to see this entire Ozymandian Kingdom built up. So I hope you are enjoying this Dawn of Man expert level playthrough, and I hope to see you guys for the next episode. This has been the Strategic Indian signing out.